Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charan Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So we continuing to read from Krishna book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chapter 46. This chapter is entitled Uddhava Visits Vrindavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalaitam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Brishcha Kripa Shindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I didn't prepare for this class because I was told late last night that I have to give the class. So if the class is too short, please forgive me. So Uddhava visits Vrindavan. Nanda Maharaj returned to Vrindavan without Krishna and Balaram. He was accompanied only by the cowherd boys and men. It was certainly a very pathetic scene for the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Srimati Radharani, and all the other residents of Vrindavan. Many devotees have tried to make adjustments to Krishna's being away from Vrindavan because, according to expert opinion, Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, never goes even a step out of Vrindavan. He always remains there. The explanation of expert devotees is that Krishna was actually not absent from Vrindavan. He came back with Nanda Maharaj as promised. So, prior to this, Akrura had come, the uncle of Krishna, Balaram, and on the request of Kamsa, came to take Krishna and Balaram away to Mathura. Because Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna and Balaram, but under the pretense of inviting them for a festival, in a wrestling match, Akrura was sent to come and take Krishna and Balaram away. And so now, the wrestling match, that festival is over. Krishna had killed Kamsa. And now Nanda Maharaj and the coward men have come back. So we'll read on to see why Krishna and Balaram stayed behind. When Krishna was starting for Mathura on the chariot driven by Akrura and the gopis were blocking the way, Krishna assured them that he was coming back just after finishing his business in Mathura. He told them not to be overwhelmed, and in this way pacified them. But when he failed to come back with Nanda Maharaj, it appeared that he either cheated them or could not keep his promise. Expert devotees, however, have decided that Krishna was neither a cheater nor a breaker of promises. Krishna, in his original identity, returned with Nanda Maharaj and stayed with the gopis and Mother Yashoda in his bhava expansion. Krishna and Balaram remained in Mathura not in their original forms, but in their expansions as Vasudeva and Sankarshan. The real Krishna and Balaram were in Vrindavan in their bhava manifestations, whereas in Mathura they appeared in the Prabhav and Vaibhav expansions. This is the expert opinion of advanced devotees of Krishna. So yes, Krishna doesn't set a foot outside Vrindavan. Therefore, when he descends to this material world, he descends with his abode Vrindavan. And like Srila Prabhupada is explaining here, that the Krishna and Balaram that remained in Mathura were the expansions of original Krishna and Balaram in their form as Vasudeva and Sankarshan. So, however, in the Bhagavatam, Krishna also says that he's not in the hearts of the yogis. He's not in there in Goloka Vrindavan, but where is he? He's there where his devotees are chanting his glories, right? So wherever his devotees are chanting his glories, that is Vrindavan. And if our heart is always thinking of Krishna, and within our hearts we're chanting the glories of Krishna, chanting his names, then our heart is Vrindavan. And so Krishna will remain there forever, as long as we don't forget him. But we have forgotten him. Therefore we are here in this material world, suffering. But Srila Prabhupada has come and has given us the process to revive our love for Krishna, and given us the process where we are trying to always remember Krishna 24 hours a day. And like that, we slowly cleanse his heart, Cheto Dharpana Marjanam, and make this heart clean, and then Krishna can come back and reside in our hearts. Right? So Krishna is not lying, he's not a cheater or a liar. He never sets step out of Vrindavan. So we can make our hearts Vrindavan and Krishna will be there. Externally, however, they were absent from Vrindavan. Therefore, when Nanda Maharaj was preparing to return to Vrindavan, there was some discussion between him and the boys concerning how they could live in separation. The conclusion to separate was reached by mutual agreement. Vasudeva and Devaki, who appeared to be the real parents of Krishna and Balaram, wanted to keep them now because of the death of Kamsa. While Kamsa was alive, Krishna and Balaram were kept under the protection of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. Now, naturally, the father and mother of Krishna and Balaram wanted them to remain, specifically for the reformatory function of purification, the sacred thread ceremony. They also wanted to give them a proper education, For this is the duty of the father. So yeah, we should not become a father or a teacher, a spiritual teacher, spiritual master, if we cannot deliver our dependence. Right? So the duty of a father, like it says here, is to give them proper education. So what is that proper education? A father can give can send the children to the school for material education, to the university, to further that material education, right? But what is that material education? It's just teaching us how to forget Krishna more and more. So Prabhupada always said that challenge the education departments, that where is your facility for teaching who you are, that you're the spirit soul, the spiritual department. No university, no school is teaching this. So this is the duty of a father, this is the duty of the mother, to give the child spiritual education and thereby deliver the child from this material world. Right? That is the duty. Otherwise, we should not have any dependence. Another consideration was that all the friends of Kamsa outside Mathura was planning to attack Mathura. For that reason, also, Krishna's presence was required. Krishna did not want Vrindavan disturbed by enemies like Dantavakra and Jarasandha. If Krishna were to go to Vrindavan, these enemies would not only attack Mathura, but would go on to Vrindavan, and the peaceful inhabitants of Vrindavan would be disturbed. Krishna therefore decided to remain in Mathura, and Nanda Maharaj went back to Vrindavan. Although the inhabitants of Vrindavan felt separation from Krishna, the resulting ecstasy or bhava caused them to perceive that Krishna was always present with them by his leela or pastimes. So the residents of Vrindavan were in so much separation from Krishna that they couldn't stop thinking of Krishna. So in that thinking of Krishna, thinking of Krishna's pastimes, it caused them to perceive that Krishna was always present with them by his leela, by his pastimes. And so Srila Prabhupada has given us Krishna book, right? And the pastimes of Krishna are in this book. And if we read this book, Prabhupada said that we should read it before we go to bed every night. Right? And like that, when we dream, we'll dream about the pastimes of Krishna. Right? And then, although we're so far away from Krishna right now, but Prabhupada has made it like so easy. He has given us Krishna book, taken out the 10th canto from Srimad Bhagavatam, and placed it in this book. And although we're so unqualified to know about the pastimes of Krishna, because it's so intimate, these pastimes, but still Prabhupada has given it to us, and like that, by reading these pastimes, we get to know Krishna, and like that, Krishna is always present with us. So Prabhupada is very merciful, so merciful. That's why he's Patita Pavan. Since Krishna has departed from Vrindavan and gone to Mathura, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Srimati Radharani, the gopis and the cowherd boys were simply thinking of Krishna at every step. They were thinking, here Krishna was playing in this way. Here Krishna was blowing his flute. Krishna was joking with us in this way. And Krishna was embracing us like this. This is called Leela Smarana. And it is the process of association with Krishna most recommended by great devotees. Even Lord Chaitanya, when he was at Puri, enjoyed Leela Smarana association with Krishna. Those in the most exalted position of devotional service and ecstasy can live with Krishna always by remembering his pastimes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us a transcendental literary work entitled Krishna Bhavanamrita, which is full of Krishna's pastimes. Exalted devotees can remain absorbed in Krishna thought by reading such books. Any book of Krishna Leela, even this book, Krishna, or our teachings of Lord Chaitanya, is actually solace for devotees feeling separation from Krishna. So here Prabhupada is saying it, right? He has given us Krishna book. He's mentioning teachings of Lord Chaitanya. We have Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So all these books are packed with Krishna Leela, Chaitanya Leela. And when we study these books, and I'm speaking to myself as well, we have to make time to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And dive deep into them. Take association of the senior devotees who are relishing these books, who are studying Srila Prabhupada's books, and in their association, try and study these books so they have Krishna with them, so they can reveal Krishna with us, to us. Right? And only then we can feel solace from this material, the pangs of material nature. Right? Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai. That Krishna and Balaram did not return to Vrindavan can be adjusted as follows. They did not break their promise to return to Vrindavan, nor were they absent, but their presence was necessary in Mathura. In the meantime, Uddhava, a cousin brother of Krishna's, came to see Krishna from Dwaraka. He was the son of Vasudev's brother and was almost the same age as Krishna. His bodily features resemble Krishna's almost exactly. After Krishna returned from his teacher's home, he was pleased to see Uddhava, who happened to be his dearmost friend. Krishna wanted to send him to Vrindavan with a message to the residents to pacify their deep feelings of separation. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Yayata mam prabhadyante tamstataiva bhajami aham. Krishna is very responsive. He responds in proportion to the devotee's advancement in devotional service. So as you surrender unto me, I reward you accordingly, Krishna says. So the gopis of Vrindavan were completely surrendered to Krishna. And so he wanted to pacify their feelings of separation. He responds in proportion to the devotee's advancement in devotional service. Thus, as the gopis were thinking of Krishna in separation 24 hours a day, so Krishna was also always thinking of the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the other residents of Vrindavan. Although he appeared to be away from them, he could understand how they were transcendently aggrieved, and so he immediately wanted to send Uddhava to give them a message of solace. So although Krishna was away, so-called away, he was always thinking of the residents of Vrindavan, right? And so he decides to send Uddhava to give them a message and pacify them. Uddhava is described as the most exalted personality in the Vrishni dynasty, being almost equal to Krishna. He was a great friend of Krishna's, and being the direct student of Brihaspati, the teacher and priest of the heavenly planets, he was very intelligent and sharp in his decisions. Intellectually, he was highly qualified. Krishna, being his very loving friend, wanted to send him to Vrindavan just to study the highly elevated, ecstatic devotional service practiced there. Even if one is highly elevated in material education and is even the disciple of Brihaspati, he still has to learn from the gopis and the other residents of Vrindavan how to love Krishna to the highest degree. It was Krishna's special favor to Uddhava to send him to Vrindavan with a message for the residents there, which was meant to pacify them. So yes, Uddhava was the disciple of Brihaspati, and he was very highly intelligent. But it says here that still Krishna is sending Uddhava to Vrindavan because he is favoring Uddhava, right? He's favoring Uddhava in the sense that he's sending him to Vrindavan to witness the devotion that the residents of Vrindavan have for Krishna. Raghunath Bhatta always used to say that to enter Vrindavan, we have to come down to the level that we have to make cow dung patties. You know? Because cow dung patties, you're touching the stool of the cow, right? And people living in the cities doesn't think very high of village people if they, taking the stool of the cow and making cow dung patties. But we have to come down to that level. But not come down to that level. We have to raise ourselves to that level. In the material world, everything is opposite, right? So we have to raise ourselves to the level of the gopis, where we become like village people, simple living, higher thinking. That's what Prabhupada has meant. We have to simplify our lives, right? So only when we can start making cow dung patties, then we're becoming eligible to enter into Vrindavan. So yeah, if we're accumulating so much of material things and so much of material opulence, it's an impediment in our devotional service for most devotees. Some devotees are exalted, they can have many material things and utilize it for Krishna, but for most it's an impediment. I remember one time I so happened to be there at Bhakti Charu Swami's disciple gathering. And where it was held, it was the disciple was had a very opulent place, and he made the comment that he said, "I don't know how you're advancing in Krishna consciousness if you're living so opulently." Like that. So yeah, we have to simplify. Eventually, come to the point that just surrender to Krishna fully. You can bless me that I come to that point soon. Right? Lord Krishna is also named Hari, which means one who takes away all the stress from the surrendered souls. Lord Chaitanya states that there cannot at any time be a worship as exalted as that realized by the gopis. Being very anxious about the gopis' grief, Krishna talked with Uddhava and politely requested him to go to Vrindavan. Shaking Uddhava's hand with his own hands, he said, "My dear gentle friend Uddhava, please go immediately to Vrindavan and try to pacify my father and mother, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi, and the gopis. They are grief-stricken, as if suffering from great ailments. Go and give them a message. I hope their ailments will be partially relieved. The gopis are always absorbed in thoughts of me. They have dedicated body, desire, life, and soul to me. I am anxious not only for the gopis, but for anyone who sacrifices society, friendship, love, and personal comforts for me." This is a very nice what Krishna is saying, that I am anxious not only for the gopis, but for anyone who sacrifices society, friendship, love, and personal comforts for me. Right? So sometimes we become devotees and we have so much of issues with family. Our friends mock us. You know? And I went through this with my friends. And it was like, they couldn't believe that I became a devotee. You know, suddenly starting wearing dhoti and tilak, shaving your head and keeping it, sikha. And so they make fun of you. But Krishna is saying here that if you sacrifice, you're doing it for Krishna's pleasure, then he will take care. It is my duty to protect such exalted devotees. The gopis are the most dear. They always think of me in such a way that they remain overwhelmed and almost dead in anxiety due to separation from me. They are keeping alive simply by thinking that I am returning to them very soon. Requested by Lord Krishna, Uddhava immediately left on his chariot and carried the message to Gokul. He approached Vrindavan at sunset when the cows were returning home from the pasturing grounds. Uddhava and his chariot were covered by the dust raised by the hooves of the cows. He saw bulls running after cows for mating. Other cows, with overladen milk bags, were running after their calves to feed them with milk. Uddhava saw that the entire land of Vrindavan was filled with white cows and their calves, running here and there all over Gokul, and he could hear the sound of milking. Every residential house in Vrindavan was decorated for the worship of the sun god and the fire god, and for the reception of guests, cows, brahmanas, and demigods. Every home was sanctified by lights and incense. All over Vrindavan, there were nice gardens filled with flowers and sounds of humming bees and singing birds. The lakes were filled with lotus flowers and with ducks and swans. So this is Vrindavan, very nice description. Filled with white cows and calves. Uddhava entered the house of Nanda Maharaj and was received as a representative of Vasudeva. Nanda Maharaj offered him a sitting place and sat down with him to ask about messages from Krishna, Balaram, and other family members in Mathura. He could understand that Uddhava was a very confidential friend of Krishna's and therefore must have come with good messages. My dear Uddhava, he said, how is my friend Vasudeva enjoying life? He is now released from the prison of Kamsa, and he is now with his friends and his children, Krishna and Balaram. So he must be very happy. Tell me about him and his welfare. We are also very happy that Kamsa, the most sinful demon, has been killed. He was always envious of the family of the Yadus, his relatives. Now, because of his sinful activities, he is dead and gone, along with all his brothers. Please let us know whether Krishna now remembers his father and mother and his friends and companions in Vrindavan. Does he like to remember his cows, his gopis, his Govardhan hill, his pasturing grounds in Vrindavan? Or has he now forgotten all? Has he now forgotten all these? Is there any possibility of his coming back to his friends and relatives so we can again see the beautiful face with its raised nose and lotus-like eyes? So this is what Nanda Maharaj really wanted to ask Uddhava, right? Whether Krishna is coming back. We remember how he saved us from the forest fire, how he saved us from the great snake Kaliya in the Yamuna, and how he saved us from so many other demons. And we simply think of how much we are obliged to him for giving us protection in many dangerous situations. My dear Uddhava, when we think of Krishna's beautiful face and eyes and his different activities here in Vrindavan, we become so overwhelmed that all our activities cease. We simply think of Krishna, how he used to smile and how he looked upon us with grace. When we go to the banks of the Yamuna, or the lakes of Vrindavan, or near Govardhan Hill, or the pasturing fields, we see that the impressions of Krishna's footprints are still on the surface of the earth. We remember him playing in those places because he was constantly visiting them. When his appearance within our minds becomes manifest, we immediately become absorbed in thought of him. We think, therefore, that Krishna and Balaram may be chief demigods in heaven who have appeared before us like ordinary boys to execute particular duties on earth. This was foretold by Garuga Muni when making Krishna's horoscope. If Krishna were not a great personality, how could he have killed Kamsa, who possessed the strength of 10,000 elephants? Besides Kamsa, they were the very strong wrestlers, as well as the giant elephant Kuvalyapid. Krishna killed all these animals and demons, just like a lion kills an ordinary animal. How wonderful it is that Krishna took in one hand the big, heavy bow made of 3 joined palm trees and broke it very quickly. How wonderful it is that for 7 days continuously he held up Govardhan Hill with one hand. How wonderful it is that he has killed all the demons like Pralambasura, Denakasura, Aristasura, Trinavarta, and Bakasura. They were so strong that even the demigods in the heavenly planets were afraid of them. But Krishna killed them as easily as anything. So yeah, the residents of Vrindavan are constantly thinking of the pastimes of Krishna, right? And therefore earlier we read that thinking of his pastimes with them, this pacified their separation. And they perceived that Krishna was with them and didn't leave them. While describing the uncommon activities of Krishna before Uddhava, Nanda Maharaj gradually became overwhelmed and could no longer speak. As for Mother Yashoda, she sat by the side of her husband and heard the pastimes of Krishna without speaking. She simply cried incessantly, and milk poured from her breasts. When Uddhava saw Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda so extraordinarily overwhelmed with thoughts of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and when he experienced their extraordinary affection for him, he also became overwhelmed and spoke as follows. My dear Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, you are the most respectable among human beings, because no one but you can meditate in such transcendental ecstasy. Uddhava continued, Balaram and Krishna are the original personalities of Godhead, from whom the cosmic manifestation emanates. They are chief among all personalities. Each of them is both the material and the efficient cause of this material creation. Material nature is conducted by the Purusha incarnations, who all act under Krishna and Balaram. By their partial representation, they enter the hearts of all living entities. They are the source of all knowledge and all forgetfulness also. This is confirmed by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, I am present in everyone's heart, and I cause one to remember and forget. I am the original compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the actual knower of the Vedas. Uddhava continued, if at the time of death a person can fix his pure mind upon Krishna, even for a moment, after giving up his material body, he becomes eligible to appear in his original spiritual body, just as the sun rises with all illumination. Passing from this life in this way, he immediately enters into the spiritual kingdom Vaikuntha. So now Uddhava is speaking philosophy to Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. But they are more interested, they don't believe, their relationship with Krishna is that of a son, So we'll read further and then it's very nice. So we'll read more and then we'll comment. This is the result of Krishna conscious practice. If we practice Krishna consciousness in this present body, while in a healthy condition and in good mind, Simply by chanting the holy Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, we will have every possibility of fixing the mind upon Krishna at the time of death. If we do this, then our lives become successful without any doubt. So this is it, that we have to take shelter of the holy name. It always comes down to this, taking shelter of the holy name. So Prabhupada is saying that, simply chanting the holy Maha Mantra, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we will have every possibility of fixing the mind upon Krishna at the time of death. So he's given us the process to train ourselves to always think of Krishna in the form of his name. Because sometimes we may not remember Krishna's pastimes. This is the material world, But if we're constantly chanting his names, therefore we're chanting a minimum of 16 rounds daily, participating in kirtan, and so even when we're asleep, hopefully we're thinking of Krishna's name. I know when I wake up every morning, it's like the Maha Mantra is in my head. So hopefully when I'm sleeping as well, the Maha Mantra is there. I was listening to one lecture by His Holiness Indra Swami, and Maharaj was saying that he had to go for some surgery here in South Africa. And fortunately, the doctor and the anesthetist was devotees as well. And so Maharaj asked them, so he's on the bed now, ready to go under, and then they put the mask for him, the anesthesia, and then he asked, so how long you'll think it'll take me to go out? And then the doctor said, you won't even last till 10, right? And then Maharaj said all he remembers was he counted 1, 2, 3, and then he was, unconscious. But when he came to, and then sometime later he asked the doctor that, what did I say before I became unconscious? And because he said that I only remembered counting up until 3. And then the doctor said, no, you counted 1, 2, 3, and slowly you started getting groggy. But you said that, I can't remember the exact words, but something to the effect of that, Krishna, please don't leave me. Like that before the anesthesia took full effect. So like that, dedicating our lives to chanting the holy names, right? So at least we can remember Krishna's names at the time of death. This is the whole Krishna consciousness movement, surrendering to the names of Krishna. Where were we? This is the result of Krishna conscious practice. Therefore, to remain always absorbed in Krishna in Krishna consciousness was the standard of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, as exhibited by Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, and the gopis. If we can simply follow in their footsteps, even to a minute proportion, our lives will surely become successful, and we shall enter the spiritual kingdom, Vaikuntha. My dear Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Uddhava continued, you have thus fixed your minds wholly and solely upon that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, whose transcendental form is the cause of impersonal Brahman. The Brahman effulgence is only the bodily rays of Narayan, and because you are always absorbed in ecstatic thought of Krishna and Balaram, what pious activity remains for you to perform? I have brought a message from Krishna that he will very soon come back to Vrindavan and satisfy you by his personal presence. Krishna promised that he would come back to Vrindavan after finishing his business in Mathura. This promise he will surely fulfill. I therefore request the two of you, who are the best, who are the best among all who are fortunate not to be aggrieved on account of Krishna's absence. You are already perceiving his presence 24 hours a day, yet he will come and see you very soon. Actually, he is present everywhere in everyone's heart, just as fire is present in wood. Since Krishna is the Supersoul, he regards everyone equally. He sees no one as his enemy, no one as his friend, and no one as lower or higher than him. He actually has no father, mother, brother, or relative, nor does he require society, friendship, and love. He does not have a material body like us. He never appears or takes birth like an ordinary human being. He does not appear in higher or lower species of life like ordinary living entities who are forced to take birth on account of their previous fruitive activities. He appears by his internal potency just to give protection to his devotees. Yeah, paritranaya sadhunam. So he comes just to give protection to his devotees. He is never influenced by the modes of material nature, but when he appears within this material world, he seems to act like an ordinary living entity under the spell of the modes of material nature. But in fact, he is the overseer of this material creation. And while remaining unaffected by the material modes of nature, he creates, maintains, and dissolves the whole cosmic manifestation. We wrongly look upon Krishna and Balaram as ordinary human beings, just as whirling men see the whole world whirling around them. The personality of Godhead is no one's son. He is actually everyone's father, mother, and supreme controller. There is no doubt of this. Whatever is already being experienced, whatever is not being experienced, whatever already exists, does not exist or will exist in the future, whatever is the smallest and whatever is the biggest, have no existence outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything rests in him, but he is untouched by everything manifested. So Uddhava gave the entire description of what God is. Right? There's a little left. Time is almost up, so let's just finish it. Nanda and Uddhava had thus passed the whole night discussing Krishna. In the morning, the gopis prepared for morning arti by lighting their lamps and sprinkling butter mixed with yogurt. After finishing their Mangal arti, they engaged themselves in churning butter from yogurt. While the gopis were thus engaged, the lamps reflected on their ornaments made the ornaments still brighter. Their churning rods, their arms, their earrings, their bangles, their breasts, everything moved, and kumkum powder gave their faces a saffron luster comparable to the rising sun. While making sounds by churning, they also sang the glories of Krishna. The two sound vibrations mixed together ascended to the sky and sanctified the whole atmosphere. So they were doing Harinam also. Right? They were singing Krishna's glories, and in churning the butter, the sound made by the churning rods and the earrings and bangles were like the musical instruments, right? And so, therefore, we have the picture up there, the gopis, Krishna and the gopis there, and below it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sankirtan movement. So like that, this Sankirtan movement, this ISKCON is not different from Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, right? And therefore we have to go out there with drums and kartals and chant Krishna's names. We did it yesterday. Very nice Harinam we had in Musgrave, Peria, even went to Warwick Avenue. Yeah, so it was very nice. And people heard the holy name and they make benefit. But most importantly, we get purified by doing it. After sunrise, the gopis came as usual to offer their respects to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. But when they saw the golden chariot of Uddhava at the door, they began to inquire amongst themselves, what was that chariot, and to whom did it belong? Some of them inquired whether Akrura, who had taken away Krishna, had returned. They were not very much pleased with Akrura because, being engaged in the service of Kamsa, he had taken lotus-eyed Krishna away to the city of Mathura. All the gopis conjectured that Akrura might have come again to fulfill another cruel plan. But they thought, we are now dead bodies without our Supreme Master, Krishna. What further act can Akrura perpetrate against these dead bodies? While they were talking in this way, Uddhava finished his morning ablutions, prayers, and chanting, and came before them. Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 46th chapter of Krishna, Uddhava visits Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada ki. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, thank you for enlightening us with some of your lectures from Krishna book. I did have a realization when I took Krishna book and went to my workplace. So
Say what you said again.
I took Krishna book and went to my workplace.
Yeah.
At the time, and then I read during my break time. I read Krishna book. So as you read Krishna book, you start to visualize what's happening in the past time. You can get the clear picture. As you, when you read each and every paragraph, you get the picture, so you visualize it. So I really enjoyed reading the book, and I really want to continue reading that book again. So thank you so much, man.
Hare Krishna. Very nice. Yeah, because the descriptions given in Krishna book is of Goloka Vrindavan, of the way Krishna looks, of the way what the gopis were doing and the residents of Vrindavan were doing. Like, it's so detailed, you know. Like they was describing Vrindavan, and there was like they're saying only so many white cows, and the birds were chirping, and there's beautiful flowers everywhere, and that's like paradise, you know. We dream of going to paradise, but actually paradise is the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. Yeah. So yeah, Prabhupada has given us everything. All we have to do is take advantage of it. Okay, anyone else? No. Okay, we stop there. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.